The Chartered Management Degree Apprenticeship has introduced me to various academic models and theories that I can critically analyse and apply to activities in the workplace. And these have also helped me to complete a number of workplace projects efficiently and successfully. I was nervous at the start of the course, however the first few modules are structured in a way that ease you into the programme. Also, several tools to help you manage your time and develop the knowledge, skills and behaviours required to become a successful manager are introduced. The module tutors at Leeds Trinity University are very passionate and supportive and provide lots of guidance and feedback to ensure you perform to the best of your ability over the course of the programme.
My name's Kirsty. I started the Digital Marketer Level 6 Apprenticeship with Leeds Trinity in September 2021. I'm loving the experience so far and feel fully supported by my tutors, and they check in regularly to make sure I'm on track. I feel like I'm getting the full university experience, even though our course is being held remotely currently, and I would recommend Leeds Trinity for anyone wanting to earn a degree.
Hello, I'm Ben Trixie and I'm currently studying an apprenticeship degree in digital marketing at Leeds Trinity University. Currently, I'm a social media and content executive at LV, and not only am I looking forward to this degree broadening my knowledge within these digital marketing areas, but I'm also excited to gain new understandings of other areas of marketing that I don't currently know a lot about through the learnings on the course. Digital marketing is constantly growing and improving and is an industry that I really enjoy working within. There are a lot of topics to learn about within the sector. It's never boring and always keeps me on my toes. I really enjoy meeting other students and finding out different things from them, and I've really enjoyed the modules we've been taught so far.
I am currently studying a digital marketing apprenticeship with Leeds Trinity. I've learnt so much already, not just about digital marketing, but also about study skills required for higher education. I've made a great deal of progress over the course of the year one, and particularly with my academic writing and reading, and I'm really looking forward to the challenges of year two.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to Leeds Trinity University's apprenticeship webinar. We're really pleased that you can join us today to find out some of the ways that your business can benefit from apprenticeships. My name's Claire Newhouse, and I'm the Director for the Centre of Apprenticeships, Work-Based Learning and Skills here at Leeds Trinity. At the university, we've been running apprenticeships since 2017, and we run them across a range of areas, including management, sales, supply chain, children's services, and policing, to name just but a few. As you were joining, you would have heard the voices of some of our current apprentices telling you about the experience that they have with the university at the moment. And there'll be more of that to come later in the morning. This morning we'll also be joined by a number of speakers, including Tom Reardon from Leeds City Council, the work-based learning tutors who are teaching on the apprenticeships, and Rachel Bonner from the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, who will be telling us about the levy transfer arrangements that are available across the Leeds City region. But before we move on to that, I'm going to hand over to Professor Malcolm Todd, who will be welcoming you to the event. Malcolm is currently Pro-Vice-Chancellor at Leeds Trinity University, where he has a remit for a range of different areas, including apprenticeships. Prior to joining the university, Malcolm worked at the universities of Derby, Leeds Beckett and Sheffield Hallam, and he's published widely in a range of areas of learning and teaching, including work-based learning, learner autonomy, and race and ethnicity. Welcome, Malcolm.
Thanks, Claire. The huge and growing national importance of apprenticeships was brought home to me personally yesterday, actually, when my daughter came home from school with a digital letter. I'm sure you'll appreciate most parents have probably experienced the sense of dread when your offspring produce a letter, literally sometimes from the depths of a bag. But in this case, it was more interesting. It was a communication from the Minister of Skills to every 12-year-old in England. I'll read a brief extract. This week is National Apprenticeship Week. It gives people the experience they need to develop great careers in the jobs our economy needs. End of quote. This shatters any remaining doubt, in my view, about the growing importance of apprenticeships to the national skills agenda. As the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of the University, I do, of course, continue to extol the benefits of traditional university education, though I do have issues with that word, actually, traditional, because we should and do offer a very wide range of education for a range of learners, for school leavers and for those already in the workplace, and crucially, academic and skills-based, not either or. I believe that academic skill-based education should be side by side in a symbiotic relationship within the higher education sector. So I'm pleased to say that Leeds Trinity University is at the vanguard of the delivery of apprenticeships. We see them as a fundamental part of our core business and offering. Of course, you'd expect me to say that. We'd very much like you to work with us because we passionately believe that apprenticeships should play a vital role in employers investing in their future. The university's recently launched strategic plan reinforces our mission as a career-led and applied university. We aim to double our student numbers over the next 7 years by developing the offering of industry-leading skills to boost the local economy. From talking to employers extensively, it's clear to me that there is huge demands for more skills education in order to upskill the UK workforce, not least within digitally embedded courses and programs. Because of that worrying digital skills gap that exists in the Leeds City region, that I'm sure we're all very aware of. In the coming months, I hope to have news of an even more ambitious set of plans for digital transformation from the university. And for me, this is a real passion. I spent much of my career promoting lifelong and work-based learning, and I've seen at first hand the transformational impact this can have on people's lives. And I just want to stress that this can only be achieved if we at the university work alongside you in co-creating our programs in apprenticeships and beyond. That's our commitment from Leeds Trinity University to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, so my name's Paula. I'm one of the work-based learning tutors and I'm here with my colleagues this morning. We've got Claire and Beresford. We've got a few minutes just to talk to you about the work-based learning framework and also how the apprenticeship knowledge, skills and behaviours can be used within the workplace. So within these few minutes, I'd just like to explain to you how you will be able to see the impact of the apprenticeship within your workplace and what that's going to mean for you. So firstly, it's a bespoke programme. So it's innovative, it's been written specifically for apprenticeships. So the key point is capturing the evidence of the learning in the workplace. The knowledge that the apprentices have learnt is applied to real world scenarios within the workplace. Also, the programmes are tailored to each individual apprentice. So they create their own learning agreement, which means that all the gaps in their knowledge, skills and behaviours are individual to that person. Everything that they learn and everything that they're assessed on relates to their individual circumstances and can be applied in the situations that they're in the workplace. So this means that both the individual and the employer will get measurable benefits and measurable results from the programmes that we offered. So how are the apprenticeship learning outcomes captured for the apprentices? So every year, at the start of the year, the apprentices will complete a review of their learning. So they'll look at the progress that they've made throughout the year and decide what sorts of knowledge, skills and behaviours they want to work on over the next few months. What's really exciting, and what Tom and also my colleague Claire will be mentioning, is how work-based projects within the organisation can be applied. So what happens is the apprentice and the line manager will agree on an issue or a problem that they want to research, and the apprentice will demonstrate the impact of the project on the organisation. Throughout each year, the modules that the apprentices learn will have the specific knowledge, skills and behaviours embedded into them. And finally, we really encourage the apprentices to reflect on their learning. We want them to become much more self-aware and think about the lessons they've learned and how they might change the way that they do something in the future next time. So I'm just going to hand over to my colleague Claire, and she's going to give you some specific examples of how the knowledge, skills and behaviours and the work-based learning framework can be used within the apprentice's workplace to capture that evidence. Over to you, Claire.
Thanks, Paula. Hi, my name's Claire Dodsley, and I'm going to talk to you about knowledge, skills and behaviours, as Paula's mentioned, and the criteria and how they're evidenced across our apprenticeship programmes. So, knowledge, skills and behaviours, what are they? So, knowledge refers to the technical detail and know-how that an apprentice needs to both attain and understand in order to carry out their duties. So, some of these will be specific to the occupation, but some may be broader, such as first aid training. The majority of knowledge and understanding will be attained by attending the modules at Leeds Trinity University, and specifically the negotiated learning modules, which are subject-specific, and via the work-based project modules. Skills are where the apprentice's knowledge is applied in a practical manner, so skills will have been learned through both experience and on-the-job training by a member of senior staff. Behaviours are mainly referring to the mindset that the apprentice has. So do they think in a way that is required for the duties that they are expected to carry out? These don't just have to be instinctive, but they can be learned too. The great thing about behaviours is that they're transferable, so they may be similar across apprenticeship standards. Knowledge or skills tend to be more specific to a particular apprenticeship. Examples of behaviours could include teamwork, problem solving, or having a professional attitude. With apprenticeships, the behaviours develop over time as they develop their knowledge and understanding and apply this in the workplace, in their work activity. Some or all of these behaviours may already be exhibited by the apprentice, but hopefully these will be developed over producing greater evidence of these throughout the lifetime of the apprenticeship. So how are KSBs evidenced? Well, knowledge is normally assessed by a piece of work submitted to Leeds Trinity University. So this could be an essay, a project report, or a PowerPoint presentation. Skills are generally a piece of work-related evidence of the apprentice being actively involved within the workplace. So these could be meeting minutes, presenting to an audience, a risk assessment, managing a budget or leading a team by carrying out appraisals, evidence of dealing with conflict. And the behaviour is by submitting different types of evidence related to skills of achieving the behaviours over the lifetime of the apprenticeship. So over the next couple of slides, I'm going to give you an idea of what KSB criteria can be linked to an apprenticeship programme. Here are the knowledge, skills and behaviour criteria linked with a Chartered Manager degree apprenticeship. This example apprenticeship incorporates key areas that are a requirement in any management position, for example, finance or strategy and managing people. Some of the apprenticeships have clear links between the knowledge criteria and the skills criteria, enabling the employer and apprentice to see the knowledge they need to attain and understand, and then providing work-based evidence of how they put this knowledge to use via work-based evidence for the skills criteria. Here are the knowledge, skills and behaviours criteria linked with the supply chain degree apprenticeship. This example apprenticeship incorporates key areas that are related to the working within a supply chain. For example, capacity planning, forecasting, and inventory. The behaviours for supply chain are not as generic as they are on the other programmes. So, for example, motivating relates to an ethical role model with a reputation for sustainable development in a global supply chain community, rather than the individual's motivation of the apprentice in relation to their work activity. On the next couple of slides, we're going to provide some examples of how the work-based activity feeds into the apprenticeship, as Paula mentioned before. So this evidence was a portfolio submitted by a chartered manager apprentice, showing them presenting the medical director's report. The reflective account highlighted them utilising the annual appraisal data, along with information on any complaints, concerns and incidents, and peer and patient feedback to provide quality assurance to the executive medical director. Following their presentation at the Trust Board meeting, their work resulted in all 3 NHS England and improvement reports being approved and signed off for submission. The evidence clearly linked to organisational strategy and communication and included the meeting agenda, highlighting them presenting the information, email evidence of the witness testimony, their presentation slides, and their reflective account of the activity and the impact on the organisation. The next bundle of evidence was portfolio work submitted by a chartered management apprentice again as part of their work-based project module. It provided evidence for a number of KSBs, 25 in total. The project related to ceasing face-to-face medical appointments during COVID. So the apprentice led their team in undertaking project work, collating the Trust's clinical outcomes data, conducting an evaluation that sought to collect qualitative data from both patients and staff regarding historical video consultation where face-to-face contact had not been possible. The objective of the project also linked with some overarching company strategy objectives, and it was evidenced by the apprentice by including patient and staff participant forms relating to collecting primary data, a very detailed witness testimony, and a video of the apprentice presenting the slides. So how does Leeds Trinity University track progress? We do this in 2 ways, via progress reviews and learning journals. So progress reviews are conducted every 3 months with a work-based learning tutor from Leeds Trinity University, the apprentice and a representative from the apprentice's workplace. This could be an assigned mentor, the learning and development manager, or a line manager. Within these progress reviews, we set objectives regarding activity in the workplace and classroom delivery, which relates specifically to the KSBs. We also ask them to complete a table in the progress review, showing their ongoing progress towards the KSBs. Part of this table is shown on the slide. The example on the slide is from the Chartered Management Degree Apprenticeship and shows 1 knowledge criteria and 2 components from this criteria. By the apprentice uploading learning journals throughout the apprenticeship, they're providing evidence of natural progress towards attaining the knowledge, skills and behaviour criteria related to their programme. Some of these learning journals will be standalone pieces of work, product evidence from the apprentice's workplace, but some of the learning journals can be uploaded through direct evidence from a module assessment submitted at Leeds Trinity University. This could be an essay on a particular knowledge criteria or time management and prioritisation from which they've learnt from the Learning Skills for Apprentices module. Another benefit to having a central location for the progress towards the KSBs is that some of the apprenticeship standards include a portfolio of evidence to be produced by the apprentice. The apprentice can look through their submissions from the duration of the apprenticeship and choose their best showcase pieces of evidence, and also utilise the reflective accounts which support the evidence. Hopefully, you will have a better idea of what knowledge, skills and behaviours are and how these are generated and evidenced to support the apprenticeship. I'm going to hand you over to Lewis now, who'll provide a summary for you.
Okay, my colleagues have just explained to you the apprentice program we provide here at Leeds Trinity. In summing up, I just want to emphasize 3 things. It's all about greater skills, greater productivity, and profit enhancement. So our aim here at the university is to help businesses, and we want to reach out to all businesses in the region to help them to expand and to grow. As a result, if you want to enhance your productivity, if you're looking for strategic approaches to help you deal with new changes, if you're looking to find new opportunities in the business environment, then we are here to help you. You might be interested in participating in one of our apprentice programs. If you are interested, you can find all the information on the Leeds Trinity website under apprenticeship.
Now, I've just got some questions for you both. So, Claire, what kind of evidence would be classed as off-the-job training?
Well, yeah, for off-the-job training, you can use a couple of different types of piece of evidence. So you can use the time that you spend at Leeds Trinity University. So when you actually come and, have taught delivery on a module, and the time that you use towards your assessments. So the research that you're doing, the writing of the assessments. You can also utilise time within the workplace as well. So things like attending meetings that might be related to some work-based activity that you're doing, job shadowing, that sort of thing. Or as I mentioned before, the first aid training. So if that's related to specifically KSB or developing your understanding of something. So some sort of internal training, if it's related, would be sufficient.
Amazing, thank you.
What's really useful as well is when you get witness statements to support that evidence.
Yeah.
So maybe like your line manager, for example, or a colleague that's witnessed what you've done in the workplace. It just really helps to have that supporting evidence from another person to add to that off-the-job evidence that you supply.
Yeah, and also with the 20% off the job training, employers can do it in lots of different ways. So some are able to give 1 day a week, but some might bunch it up. So they might have 2 days every 2 weeks, or the amount of time that they can give available if the student wants to use it towards the end for their assessment development and things like that.
Amazing, thank you. So Paula, how are the programmes delivered at Leeds Trinity University?
Okay, so we use a blended delivery approach and we use block delivery. So I'll just explain that to you so that you understand it. So blended delivery for us is having some face-to-face sessions and also having some sessions that are delivered online, but where the students are actually participating in discussions online, not where they'll just look at the information afterwards and then manage the workload themselves. The tutor is actually facilitating the sessions, which we've found has been really beneficial, especially when we've had so many sessions online just recently. And then the block delivery, what we try and do is have 2 days in a month when the apprentice either comes to the university or has 2 dedicated days online, and then maybe then the next month they might just have 1 or 2 tutorial sessions online, so that the delivery we have doesn't mean that that apprentice has to come onto campus or has to dedicate 1 day every week, because some businesses just find that quite limiting, knowing that that person's going to be out of the office for that amount of time. So what we try and do is have those days together, and then maybe the other 2 days of the month, the apprentice could do different days of the week or an afternoon here and there to make their 20% off the job hours up. And then it's more flexible than just expecting them to come in face-to-face or online 1 day every week. So just to summarise, it's kind of block delivery and blended learning with a lot more face-to-face sessions now than we had before.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to hand over to
Yes,
who's next, Verity?
next we have Dan and Elliot coming up, and they are our relations managers.
Good morning. I'm Elliot Viles and I'm one of the relationship managers here within the apprenticeship team, and this is my colleague Dan.
Hi.
And we're here to talk to you today about how to recruit an apprentice. So apprenticeships are a work-based qualification and they are for people aged 16 years old and above. They are designed for particular areas that meet nationally approved standards. They can be used to help bridge the skills gap that may be within your organisation. By recruiting apprentices, you can develop people that promote the specific skills that may be necessary to succeed in your business and industry. They are particularly cost effective as a form of training and gives the apprentice the foundation to be able to contribute to the workplace as well as learning at the same time. Apprentices within the workplace can also develop and produce a new skilled workforce that may be necessary for your business to succeed in the future. Furthermore, there are financial incentives available to all employers who are wishing to recruit a new apprentice. Employers can apply for a payment up to £3,000 for a new apprentice of any age who have employment start date between the 1st of October 2021 and the 31st of January 2022. Please note as well that they must have started an apprenticeship during that same time frame. Employers have until the 15th of May 2022 to apply for this incentive. Also, there is an additional £1,000 available for all employers who recruit an apprentice between the age of 16 and 18. And those also as well, please note, who's 19 plus on a health and care plan. In addition, employers do not need to pay any national insurance contribution to any apprentice under the age of 25. But however, please note, to be able to obtain these incentives, you must have an apprenticeship service account. The Digital Enterprise Services Account, or what's effectively known as the DAS account, is the government's portal for all employers to be able to access and find and fund and manage their apprenticeship programs. The employer logs into the apprenticeship service and it helps them to access their levy funds as well as check their account balance. It helps them to find and manage their training providers, and more importantly, it helps them to recruit and manage for new apprentices. Now, this is where we come in as a team. We feel it's never been easier to employ a new apprentice. We have a dedicated apprenticeship team that is here to support you throughout your recruitment cycle. We can help employers recruit for apprenticeship roles across a wide range of vocational areas, such as supply chain, business-to-business sales, digital marketer, and leadership and management. We have dedicated relationship managers, myself and Dan, who will work with you from the start to the end of the recruitment cycle, but in particular, focusing around the promotion element of the vacancy. As a team, we have access to a wide-ranging candidate search functions, such as Find an Apprenticeship, the university's social media channels, as well as job sites. And we will use these to help you find the best possible candidate. I'm going to hand you over to Dan now, who will tell you about his top tips and how to recruit an apprentice.
Thanks, Elliot. That was a really good summary. Thanks. Morning, everyone. I'm Dan Lancaster. I'm the other relationship manager in the centre. So what I've got is a few top tips on recruitment and kind of how to get that person into your business, as well as what to do once that person is in your business. And as we all know, recruitment exercises tend to be the hardest bit of any.
Absolutely.
Well, finding the right person is the hardest part of any recruitment exercise, isn't it? Sometimes it's like finding an invisible needle in 10,000 haystacks.
It is rather challenging, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So yeah, these tips are going to be a bit of a whistle stop through some ideas that I think will help, particularly when finding an apprentice, but maybe for wider recruitment exercises as well. My first tip would be to start early. So what I mean by that is there is no right or wrong time to advertise a vacancy or to start recruiting. There are peak times throughout each year that people will be looking for a job. Every January, I think everybody that I know was looking for a job, yeah. And there are peak times for school leavers and college leavers as well. So you need to make sure that you're capturing those times. But there's such a wide talent pool of people that will be interested in working for you, and you need to capture as many of those as possible. People like career changers, people that have graduated or maybe have come through the Kickstarter scheme. You just never know when somebody's going to be looking on a particular website for a particular role. So yeah, you just capture as many of those as you can. Tip 2, which is very much linked to this, that first one, is to utilize as many platforms as possible. So what I mean by that one is that don't just rely on Indeed and don't just rely on your website to attract candidates, because you're limiting the range of what you're doing in terms of recruitment. Some of the most successful recruitment campaigns that I've heard about recently have just solely used social media. So they haven't paid for any advertising or any kind of agencies or anything like that. They've just gone on Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's worked really effectively. There's a growing number of young people that are using LinkedIn, how it should be used really for job searching and for networking and for building their contacts and to kind of raise their profile with employers. So yeah, make sure that you're putting any vacancies that you've got on LinkedIn.
So it's cost effective and it's time effective.
Absolutely, yeah. You can link through to your own website through LinkedIn. Recently, I heard a story about an employer, a local employer, that had struggled for months to recruit anyone through Indeed. They were getting really good volume of people applying, but the quality wasn't particularly good, so they really struggled. What they did instead is they put an update on Facebook, and immediately they got 6 or 7 really good inquiries from the local area, from people that knew the business, and it helped them recruit really, really quickly as a result of that. So kind of, yeah, maybe try to think a bit disruptively. So don't just use a traditional...
The quality of candidate as well that's coming through.
Yeah, the people that responded to the Facebook update, they knew about the business, they knew how it worked, they knew exactly what they wanted to do. So they'd seen that update and they'd taken the time out to respond to it. Yeah. So rather than Indeed, which is just a click and click and click, they'd actually taken a bit more time to answer the questions that were being asked. Yeah, that's it. Tip 3, this might be a bit controversial actually, but don't rely on a provider or us to do the pre-screening for you. So the reason being is that you know exactly what you're looking for. We don't. So we might kind of exclude somebody or kind of shortlist somebody that you wouldn't, and vice versa. You might see something that we won't. So yeah, the best way of recruiting is for you to own that process from start to finish.
To lead on it.
Yeah. So we want applicants to realise that they're applying for a job with you rather than a training course with us. Yeah. And the best way of handling that is by that first contact being from the employer, being from the employer that you're going to be working for.
And we can assist in a sort of complementary manner.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. We will support every step of the way. I mean, we will put every single vacancy that we get on Find an Apprenticeship because it is a national platform for apprenticeships, and it's where careers advisors advise young people to look for apprenticeship vacancies. We'll also advertise vacancies on our own website. Myself and Elliot are both very active on LinkedIn, and we'll promote vacancies through our networks. I'm on Twitter as well. I've only got like 200 followers, but I'll still use it. So yeah, I mean, it's that it goes back to the first point. We never know when somebody's going to be looking for that particular role, for your role. So it's important that we kind of do that.
And we have also been involved in interviews, and you went down the searching process, didn't you?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to move on to that. Yeah. So we can help out by doing information sessions, putting webinars on for if you've got like an open session, and we will invite people to join us for a webinar. We'll go through the apprenticeship programs in great detail so that we can manage their expectations from day one. I say we'll get involved with the interview process, so we will help you from the academic and kind of the vocational side of things. So an employer can look at the characteristics that they want. We can identify the kind of the attitude for learning, and we can put assessment centres on. We can do lots of supporting along the way. Whatever support an employer wants, I think we've got that support available, haven't we?
And I must say, I think it's important to note that service is free of charge as well. We're talking thousands and thousands. We even use a recruitment service like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the thing we can do that pre-screening for you, but it's not as effective. So the application forms that we get through Find an Apprenticeship, they look very similar to each other. Once you've seen 5, you've seen kind of 10, 15, 20, that kind of thing. What I'd advise is ask people to send in a CV and ask them to fill out an application form, because that way you're capturing more information and you're able to kind of see a little bit further and more in depth than just a standard application form. And developing application forms, developing a CV and filling out an application form is a skill that needs developing. And by doing that, we are helping people to develop those skills. So we make it, and again, it goes back to the more you're asking somebody to put more effort into applying for a vacancy, the more effort they will put in, the more invested in that recruitment process they will be.
You can see that in the application, can't you?
Yeah. And tip 5 would be, and it's a pretty kind of easy one to do, is let us have a look at your job descriptions before you advertise. We will advise whether there's any gaps in the job description that we think an apprentice is going to need exposure to once they're on the programme. So we can help you to fill those gaps and to help you manage the apprentice's progress more effectively. So if you're recruiting a management apprentice and they need some exposure to how to manage a budget, then you can either embed that into the job description, or you can build it into the apprentice's employment once they've started. So you could build in some departmental rotation, or you could give them a smaller budget to manage when they start.
And it's also worth noting that it's fundamental for the apprentice to be working in an appropriate job role that's complementary to the chosen supply chain degree apprenticeship as well, isn't it? So
yeah, absolutely. And just flipping back to the first point about starting early, there's real benefits for getting your apprentice into your business prior to the apprenticeship starting. It gets the feet under the table, they feel more comfortable in the business, and they know a little bit about what they're going to be doing on a daily basis before we ask them to start learning new skills about how to build a portfolio of evidence or some of the subject-specific content. So yeah.
And that works as well, doesn't it, for a new apprentice who's an actually old employee? Obviously people, organisations can use degree apprenticeships to upskill the existing members of the workforce.
Absolutely, yeah, they're just as effective for upskilling as they are for recruitment. Yes, which again, another smooth transition there into how do you actually help your apprentice to develop once you've got them in the business. I've not got 5 tips this time, I've only got 3. The first one is probably the biggest one, which is to plan ahead. So that includes making sure you've got the workshop timetables, make sure you know exactly when the apprentice is going to be out of your business or in off-the-job learning, so that you can manage their time more effectively and you can help them to identify and develop that portfolio of evidence and track their off-the-job learning. One of the hardest things for employers and apprentices to kind of get their heads around is what constitutes as off-the-job learning. So by having a structure and a plan in place from day one, you can help them to understand that by saying, right, you will be in a one-to-one, you will be in a departmental rotation, you'll be kind of you will have maybe an hour on a Thursday to kind of reflect on what you've been doing for the last couple of days. Use that time how you would. So have those plans in place, because it will really help that apprentice get to grips with work-based learning and reflective learning and building that portfolio.
It's a skill set for life, isn't it? That ability to do that.
Yes. Second tip would be to give your apprentice control of how they progress as well. So they're going to be on an apprenticeship for at least 12 months. If they're on a degree apprenticeship, it'll be 3 years. But what I mean by that is don't give them a prescribed list of further progression. Give them the freedom to research what they want to go into and kind of how they see their career progressing, and ask them to come to you with the solution for what they want. And you'll find that they'll be more creative, that they'll come back to you with a better value for money than kind of if they were kind of dictated to. But they'll also, again, be more invested in a long-term future with your business. So the investment that you show in them, it will be reflected in.
Yeah, it develops ownership and critical thinking. And you're really investing in the organisation.
Yeah. The golden egg of any apprenticeship is for that person to develop and progress and to stay with the business. And by giving them ownership of that progression and their training and development, you're enabling that. So you are building that commitment to your business from the apprentice.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So we've got some live questions coming in. So
cool.
Nadia is asking, how do you apply for an apprenticeship course as an apprentice?
Okay, shall I answer that? Yeah, cool. Okay, so the first step that you need to be is to make sure that you're in a role that is suitable for the apprenticeship that you're applying for. So if you are wanting to apply for a digital marketing apprenticeship, you would need to be in a digital marketing role with an employer. Once you've got that element sorted, and that is the hardest thing to find when you're taking those first steps, is to once you've done that, it's a pretty straightforward process of completing an application form, making sure you got all your evidence, and making sure that your employer is fully supportive of you doing that apprenticeship as well, because we'll need to sort out the funding and
making sure they're going to support you with the funding and giving you the time to do the degree apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, what would be the first steps for a company when recruiting their first apprentice?
Give us a ring. No, honestly, I think the first steps would be like what Dan has said, is make sure the job description is appropriate to the chosen degree apprenticeship that you're thinking of recruiting an apprentice for. Make sure within that job description you're putting the incentives of why they should be applying for you. What are their duties, their responsibilities? Talk about what training provider you're working with. So if it's with Leeds Trinity University, highlight in there, because that helps to hook the potential applicants. It's a fabulous incentive to go and be paid to work, and also then be sent to do go to university to obtain a degree and an apprenticeship. Develop a relationship with your training, with your local university, with your relationship managers, because as we say, we can help with promotion, we can help with finding the best candidates for you, as well as making sure their educational journey transitions rather well with us.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Yeah, I think the first stage that I would go to is to sort of identify what kind of delivery model you want your apprenticeship to run through.
That's a great point.
And I mean, there's thousands of providers. They're all extremely good. There's plenty of different delivery models. So it's about finding the right fit for your business. So find a provider, which is again the government website called Finding a Provider, which will help you to do that. We'll list every single provider of each standard based locally that you can identify. And on that website, they've got employer feedback and they've got learner feedback. So it'll help you make an informed decision about which provider you want to use. And there are things to consider, such as how much support you want your provider to give in addition to the training. Things like, I don't know, at Leeds Trinity, for example, we've got a learning hub, which provides additional support for people with academic writing. We've got a peer support network. We also have a lot of additional support for people with learning difficulties. So things like that need to be a factor when you're choosing who your provider will be. But again, yeah, there's lots of choice out there, and there are lots of good providers.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Well, thank you very much for your time. We're going to pass over to the next speaker now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Next, we'll be talking to Tom Reardon from Leeds City Council. Tom's been Chief Executive of Leeds Council since August 2010 and is the youngest Chief Executive in history of the Council, I believe. Since his arrival in Leeds, he's set a new ambition for it to be the best council in the best city in the UK. And he's led a groundbreaking commission into the future of local government. Today, Tom will be talking about how apprenticeships can work with your business. And his experience of this through the council's own apprenticeship scheme. The council have really embraced the apprenticeship agenda, and I'm pleased that we have a number of Leeds Council apprentices with Leeds Trinity undertaking their learning with us currently. So I hope to hear a little more about this. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, I mean, it's great to be here, and what a great initiative. We are big believers in apprenticeships. I think for those of us who are more used to the maybe more traditional route into education, I think the thing to remember about it these days is there are a fantastic range and different number of initiatives around over 700 different apprenticeships that you can gather, but basically from the equivalent of 5 GCSEs to 2 A levels to a sort of foundation degree and then even degree apprenticeships. And we've utilised it within the council in 2 main ways. One is for our own organisation, we have 500 apprentices at the moment. And they've, as a chief exec, I've been very keen to, hang on to good people who are coming through my organisation, make sure that they've got an opportunity to achieve their own potential and develop their own talents, and also see a pathway and a future for them within the organisation. And the apprenticeships that we've been running has really enabled me to do that really effectively. So I call them my sort of Praetorian Guard of change in the organisation, because they're all really, energised by the apprenticeship process. And what we are also able to do is to utilise their that when they're sort of doing a project within the apprenticeship, particularly in the management and leadership side, we've linked it into sort of problem solving that we've got within the organisation. So although it's taking 20% of their time when we're developing this, when they're doing the apprenticeship, in terms of the, if you're a team manager and you're thinking, well, should I do this or not? It's actually enabling us to really find better ways of working and encourage innovation within the organisation, which is fantastic. And I think it's a great opportunity for particularly people who've been in the workforce for a while as well. Maybe people who weren't that motivated or suited to school when they were going through the system, to return to learning and to do it in a way which is maybe more applied and a way that they maybe engage with a bit more. So yeah, and the partnership we've had with Trinity has been fantastic. You're a very valued partner of ours, and I've just seen the results of some of the recent ones. We've had a couple of distinctions and some merits, and the sense of achievement for people that have gone through that, particularly during the recent period we've gone through, has been really inspiring for them and for us, actually. The second element of this, which is really important, is for the city, so not just for the council as an organisation. And we have been, because of the way the apprenticeship levy works, when you're a big employer, if you can't use up all your apprenticeship levy, which we haven't been able to, even though we've got 500 apprentices running, we're able to recycle that money and use it to benefit small businesses in the city. So we've got £700,000 available for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, to get full funding for the apprenticeship course that comes through. And that's been really brilliant for us, particularly, I think, in terms of the growing sectors like digital and tech, where if you're a small business, it's hard to find, even though it might seem like, relatively small amounts of money for a business. It takes a lot sometimes to be able to fund something like that. So us being able to do that and being able to link them into to what's happening has been really, really brilliant for us as well. And I would just really encourage people who are tuning in, and whether you're an individual who wants to get involved in an apprenticeship, or if you want to be an employer that takes it forward, then to get in touch with yourselves or with us as an organisation. There's a really good website, Apprenticeship Leeds, Apprenticeships Leeds, that you can go to. This week we've just had 6,000 people through our apprenticeship fair in the arena, the First Direct Arena, which has been brilliant. 250 employers. I know yourselves were involved in that, and that's a really inspiring day when you've got particularly young people and their families coming through and seeing what a difference apprenticeships can make. So yeah, just I would really advocate it and encourage people watching to to get involved and to check it out. just a couple of examples maybe to finish to sort of bring it to life a bit. We had we do a lot of work in the health and care sector because there's real skill shortages in that area. And through the pandemic, one of our apprentices did a piece of work on digital care and managed to develop a service that was able to link up people who would otherwise have been quite isolated in care homes and who were maybe receiving home care at home, to be able to tune into and connect into online get-togethers that were taking place. And it's led to a sort of workplace Wednesdays thing where we've got lots of people internally and externally been able to come together and learn. So it's one of those examples I mentioned where there's like a project attached, which makes a big difference. And then one of our other great examples was we managed to get somebody who was in a care home who was feeling pretty down and isolated through the pandemic without the visits happening, to get involved in her passion for film and theatre. And we hooked up with the Playhouse in Leeds, who were developing a great project on connecting people into to look more optimistically forward and get involved in some of the arts initiatives that we were doing, and that's ended up with this woman who's been able to tell her life story in different art forms, and she's been really connected in and really sort of re-inspired by it. And so it's things like that that can make a massive difference to people's lives as well, which has been I always think is the best thing that can come out of this. So yeah, just really would really strongly advocate it and encourage anybody who's maybe thinking about getting involved to do so. It really makes a difference. It can help big organizations and medium-sized organizations drive, I think, change and improvement and productivity, but at the same time, for an individual, it can be often the key, I think, to taking that next step and maybe feeling like you're progressing and you're achieving your talent and potential in a way maybe that you weren't able to through the more traditional academic routes that we the silos that were sent down through school sometimes. So that would be my take. Get involved in Leeds and get involved in Trinity.
Brilliant, Tom. Thanks so much. It's really good to hear some of those real concrete examples of how apprentices have really benefited, but also the organisation as well.
Yeah.
I'm just going to check if there's any questions coming through, but I don't think there are. So I've got a couple of questions for you myself.
Okay.
The first one is just generally, we've seen the apprenticeship agenda and the funding change, obviously, over the last 5-6 years, really fundamentally. What's the biggest impact you think that's had on the council and the city?
Yeah, I think, I think the apprenticeship levy in some ways was quite a radical change, actually, in the way that, apprenticeships have been supported and the way that, the whole system has worked, and it's taken a bit of time to work through. But I think now that we, have got our heads around it and that we have managed to link it into what we're trying to do as an organisation and as a city, I think that's probably the big change that's made a big difference, and something that we, have embraced. And I think tried to, I think there was a traditional view of apprenticeships that it was to do with the classic trades, and that's brilliant and we need them, and we need even more of them. All the building that's going on in the city that I haven't mentioned, that we need apprentices for, and the School of Building, and all the work we do through that has been fantastic. But there's this extra element to this, and I think particularly the management and leadership side that is really interesting, and I feel has certainly from my both my office manager within my small team within the council that supports me, and my chief of staff have both benefited from management and leadership apprenticeships, which have made are making a big difference to them and enabling them to develop as they do a really busy job as well. So yeah, I think it's that. The other change that's taking place is that Tracy Brabin, the mayor, is taking more responsibility for FE more generally, and further education and workforce skills. And I think as that develops, and that links into higher education institutions like Trinity and the other unis in the city, I think that's going to be another big opportunity and probably change for us to make that better connection between employers and the supply side, if you like, of education in the city.
Okay, that's great. I've got another, maybe a bit more personal question for you, really. So, if you were starting over again, we know that apprenticeships are suitable for all ages or all stages of your career. But if you were starting your career again, which apprenticeship route would you choose?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very techie in the sense that I can sort of code and things like that, although I have had a go at that. When I did my kids sort of glaze over and think it's like the dark ages when I talk like this, but when I did my degree, before I started my working career, we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have email, and word processors was something that you sort of had heard about, and supercomputers were big things in rooms somewhere. And when I started work, I can remember having to learn to type, and how it became a massive problem for me because I was so rubbish at it. It was taking me ages to do things and get used to word processing, and then when a few years later I did an MBA, and by that time we were just starting to mobile phones were a thing, and you were just starting to get email and things like that. And so I think looking back, a digital and tech apprenticeship would have been really, really useful for me, because it might have accelerated some of that sort of understanding and use of technology. And I think, just how quickly technology moves, and how, we're all having to adapt all the time. And, as a leader, I've had to deal with in an organization and in a city, I've had to adapt to, social media and how that affects you. And I find a lot of people who struggle with that, particularly in public facing roles. Mm-hmm. So I think my answer would be, yeah, digital apprenticeship would have made a real difference and probably helped me. And so, yeah, that would be the one that I would probably look for. Okay, brilliant, really interesting. Thank you very much, and thanks for joining the event today. It's been really great to have your input, and we look forward to working with the council further as we go forward. Thanks, Claire. Thanks. Okay, so next up, we're going to be hearing from Dylan Cohen. He's one of our current apprentices. He works for Sales Star in Huddersfield. And to say Dylan is a new apprentice, he's already made a huge impact in the global business. In this next 5-minute clip, we'll hear from Dylan, and we'll hear from his employers, and we'll hear from some of the people that he's working with across the world. And we'll get to know a bit how they're incorporating the apprenticeship into their business.
Doing a degree apprenticeship, you get the best of both worlds. Not only it's nice to get paid, but you get the experience that you wouldn't get when you're doing a normal degree, but you also get a degree out of it.
We're really delighted to have Dylan Cohen as our first sales apprentice. This was a big decision for Sales Star in the UK to bring on board an apprentice, but when we became aware that there was actually a sales-specific apprenticeship scheme, we were really excited. Dylan has only been with us for a few months now, and he's been learning all about the Sales Star methodology. We've been coaching and training him to make discovery calls with companies that fall into our target market.
I've been a part of big deals already within Sales Star. I feel like I'm fully embedded within the team in the UK, but also we've got teams over in New Zealand, Australia, America, Scandinavia, which I'm a part of, and I can contact anyone.
We're really delighted with the impact that Dylan has had on the business. Not only is he engaged fully with our team in SalesStar in the UK, but he's engaged with all the other coaches and salespeople within SalesStar globally.
Hi, my name's Paul O'Donoghue. I am the CEO and founder of SalesStar. We've recently hired our first sales apprentice, which is Dylan Cohen. And that young man has made an impact straight off the bench. He's got the theoretical skills in sales, or the theory, I should say. And then he's enabled to come into the business and get some real practical skills to make a massive impact for SalesStar.
We've taken on a number of rising stars in our offices around the globe, not just because it brings the average age down, but because we see promise in them as future leaders. And in Dylan's case, we don't just see promise, we see greatness. In psychological terms, there are those with a growth mindset as opposed to those with a fixed mindset. And without a doubt, Dylan has this growth mindset. He embodies qualities of bravery, determination, and humility, with a willingness to be vulnerable, asking for help. And because he's not afraid to ask for help, he's formed long-distance relationships with some of the most senior managers at SalesStar, who are all too willing to take the time to coach him personally.
The support that I get from the team as well is vital, but also the support that I get from the university, so my tutors and the teachers that deliver the learning that we do. And what we're doing on the course as well is really sort of part of what we're doing in a daily basis. So having the B2B sales course that's really specific to my role is definitely an advantage.
And he tries everything he learns. He's not afraid of picking up the phone. He's persistent, having developed a high level of resilience and mental toughness. And he treats every failure as a learning experience. Add to that, he works with the team, playing his part to get significant sales over the line.
For those businesses that are considering hiring an apprentice, I would highly recommend it. Not only is Dylan getting support and training and development from us as part of his apprenticeship, but Dylan is also studying for a degree in sales at Leeds Trinity University. So Dylan is getting the best of both worlds in terms of academic inputs, learning, but practical experience, which will lead into having a very successful career.
I've got to say, I absolutely love apprenticeship schemes. See, in my former life, before I even went into sales, I spent 10 years as an electrician, and that meant doing 4 years as an electrical apprenticeship. And when I transitioned off the tools and into sale, I just wish there was a sales and apprenticeship scheme. And certainly in the neck of the woods that I live in, which is little old New Zealand, they didn't have any scheme like that. And we, mind you, this was some time ago, and they still don't.
Anybody who's seriously considering bringing on board an apprentice as part of their development and is serious about coaching and developing those individuals, I would highly recommend the apprenticeship scheme.
We're delighted to have Dylan with us. He has a great future with SalesStar. If only we could clone his DNA.
My advice on anyone considering it, definitely go out and try and get it, because like I said before, you do get the best of both worlds.
Welcome back, and thanks very much to Oliver Eaton from SalesStar for creating that video. We're moving on to our last slot for today, and this will be delivered by Rachel Bonner from the West Yorkshire Combined Authority. Rachel will be talking us through some of the levy transfer options that exist across the Leeds City region so that all businesses can benefit from apprenticeships.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Rachel Bonner from the West Yorkshire Combined Authority. I'm Project Manager of the Leeds City Region Apprenticeship Levy Transfer Service. Through engaging with apprenticeship levy paying businesses, we hope to secure £3 million worth of apprenticeship levy to support individuals and businesses and their future workforce through apprenticeships. Any business that has a pay bill over £3 million pays 0.5% into the apprenticeship levy. If they don't spend this levy on apprenticeships within their own organisation, it starts being returned to government after 24 months. If a business is not spending all their levy, we can help them transfer up to 25% of this to other businesses to support apprenticeships. We've developed a very simple process. Levy-paying businesses pledge any of their unspent levy and any criteria they may have. So they may wish to spend it within a certain geography of West Yorkshire or within a certain sector. Training providers submit registration forms of businesses that are taking on an apprentice. And it's a business that would benefit from a transfer. So the transfer is that the business doesn't have to pay the 5% contribution towards the training costs. So that avoids them going down the co-investment model. We complete due diligence checks on the businesses and the training providers. And if these are satisfactory, their details are entered into our system. Every week we hold a matching meeting, so that determines what levy we've got available and what apprenticeship standards we've got available to fund. If we find a suitable match, we send details onto the levy company and await their decision on whether they would like to fund the proposed apprenticeship. Once agreed, we'll support both sides with the setup of the apprenticeship service account. The key points to note, an apprenticeship levy transfer can support any apprenticeship standard at any level. The receiving business must be based within West Yorkshire or York, and the business can still apply for any available apprenticeship government incentive grants that are available. To date, we've supported over 220 apprentices in over 30 businesses, and over £2.4 million worth of levy has been pledged through our service. If you're a business and thinking of taking on an apprentice, please get in touch. We can support you with this process. And also, if you're a training provider working with businesses taking on apprentices, please get in touch and we can let you know about the levy that we've got available. And equally, if you're an apprenticeship levy paying business and you wish to talk to us about pledging some of your unspent levy, please get in touch. If you want any further information or a discussion, you can search Leeds Enterprise Partnership Levy or email levy@the-lep.com. Thank you.
Many thanks to Rachel for giving us that information. I'm really pleased as well to announce that Leeds Trinity University will be transferring some of its levy to support local businesses as well. So that's the end for this morning, and I'm really pleased that you could join us to learn all about the apprenticeships that we're delivering and the benefits to businesses and individuals. But before we finish up, I just wanted to give some thanks to everyone that's been involved in the event this morning. So thanks very much to all the staff involved, all of the external speakers, and everyone for joining online. Special thanks, however, must go to our own apprenticeship, Jessica Whitcomb, who's joined me on the sofa just for a few minutes. Jessica joined the university. She joined the Centre for Apprenticeships, Work-Based Learning and Skills as a business admin apprentice just over a year ago. So just wanted to hand over to Jess and ask about your experience of being an apprentice.
Yeah, so I've been an apprentice for 12 months now, and I am at the end of my course, so I am through to the endpoint assessment phase. And it has been such a great opportunity to have this apprenticeship and to complete it. And I feel so supported by my colleagues in the department, and I get my 20% off the job, every week. And I can use my work shadowing to kind of link what I'm learning in my apprenticeship to what I do on a daily basis in the department. So, the last 12 months has been really brilliant, and I feel really grateful. So it's been brilliant. Thank you very much.
So one example of the work that you've been doing, Jess, is creating this whole event,
yes,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So Jess has been instrumental in creating all of this, setting us up in the studio, liaising with all of our speakers, making sure that we have everything on hand. So thanks very much for that, Jess.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks very much again for joining. If you want to find out more about Leeds Trinity Apprenticeships, please visit our website or email us at apprenticeships@leedstrinity.ac.uk, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.